So Aaron Glenn, Lions defensive coordinator, met with the media yesterday. I love Aaron Glenn press conferences.
AG?
He is awesome. And there was some funny stuff because later Ben Johnson met and they asked him about, camp and the relationship he has with Aaron Glenn. He goes, yeah, he stands next to me and we're like scrimmaging and Aaron Glenn will turn to me and get my face like, bam, because his defense did something. And Ben Johnson's like, and I'm like, we're not even wearing pads, Aaron. But that's the relationship they've got. Aaron Glenn yesterday was kind of salty. He was, and not in a bad way. He was just.
He should be salty. He should take it personally. This team has rolled up 99 points in 2 games against his defense.
Yeah. Yep.
That should not sit well with him or anybody in the Lions organization. And it does not sit well.
At one point, somebody in the media said, Brian Branch, and Aaron Glenn just cut him off. He goes, how many times are you going to ask me about him? And I'm going to have to answer he's a really good player. Like, are you really? Somebody said, you played more zone in week 1. He's like, how do you know that? He's like, well, you did. Do you know that? You know that to be a fact? And then the follow-up, I couldn't really hear it.
Challenging everything. I love it.
A follow-up question, Aaron Glenn was like, I'm not going to give you the game plan.
Salty is a good word for it.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn was salty. And it might have to do with the 99 points in the last 2 games against this team and against this group.
There may have been a chair thrown yesterday.
It could have been. But the bottom line is Pete Carroll likes to run the ball and has run the ball against Detroit. And, there's things that are coming out of Seattle, emanating out of Seattle that have to get better, and they're vowing to get better. Like DK Metcalf said this week, wide receiver, he had 3 catches in the opener, and he came out and publicly admitted, I wasn't 100% into it. I did not give 100% effort every single snap, and he vows to be better. Their defense, well, we'll get to their defense a little bit later on. We talk about when the Lions have the ball, but, the Lions didn't. Did they have 1 sack of Patrick Mahomes? I don't think they did.
No, they did not.
Okay, but they had 10 QB hurries and 7 more QB hits. So that's 17 times they either flushed him out of the pocket or hurried him or hit him. And those things add up. And I would not call, it's weird, with no sacks, I would not call that pass rush ineffective in week 1. I thought it was effective.
No, it was very effective because he had to throw the ball earlier than he wanted to, or he had to take off and get out of the pocket because he was flushed out. And I think that the Lions need to learn the lesson, which is, hey, if you're going to flush a quarterback out of the pocket, you better have somebody there to contain that quarterback from picking up 10, 12, 15 yards on the run, which is what Geno Smith did last year. And to an extent, Patrick Mahomes had a few carries like that last Thursday night. So that they have to work on, and that's fine because they know it. They know going into it exactly what they have to do. I think you watch a game like last night, and Philadelphia has this great defensive line, and they're going to get pressure. I think get pressure on you from the middle, with their tackles, let alone with the guys on the outside. They're very talented up front. Kirk Cousins was able to handle it.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing. Smart quarterback, get rid of the ball early, and I think that can kind of frustrate it. But you better have if you're going to have the pass rush, you're going to want to get in there quickly because obviously giving quarterbacks time to throw is no good. There's going to be pressure on the Lions secondary to stay with their receivers for a few seconds, okay? Because Geno Smith's going to have to make quick decisions, and I imagine he's going to get upset at some point and want to take his deep shots, and he's not able to because he doesn't have the time to do it. But there'll be times where he's just going to, hey, I've got a second and a half and I got to throw it. I'm just going to heave it up there to the spot where I think the guy's going to be. And I think the Lions can take advantage of that with safeties. And this is where Kirby Joseph comes into play, Brian Branch comes into play, whoever is going to be out there in center field. They're going to have an opportunity to pick the pass that's just going to throwing it up for grabs.
I'll give you a guy who impacted the game but didn't play all that much. But I think this is a pretty damn good ratio, and it's a guy that's been hurt, and it's a guy who we haven't seen what he is supposed to be, but Aaron Glenn did admit yesterday he's pretty excited about him. Josh Pascal played 16 snaps on defense. He had 3 tackles in 16 snaps from that position. And one was at TFL on that third down, like that jet sweep they ran. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. Conversely, Levi Onwuzurike played 21 snaps, and I don't think he accumulated a stat. But, I mean, at least Onwuzurike's on the field, and sometimes at that position you don't get stats. But Pascal, that's an encouraging start for a player with promise. And we've talked a lot about that defensive front. We kind of know what Hutch is. You know, the robo-rusher is just going to keep coming and coming and coming. But everybody else in that defensive front, there's a lot of guys with high upside. It's can they produce?